Okay, here we are. Welcome back. It's been a few months here. We're back to our first Wednesday of the month updates for the bridge project. So thanks for tuning in, and we got a few in the audience as well. I'm going to turn it over to Terry to talk a few things, and I'm going to jump into some traffic things that we've noticed with big changes that have occurred here in the last week. So I'll let Terry get started.
Yeah, we always start with safety. So still on the project, we've had 2 recordables, so nothing in terms of recordable accidents since the last meeting, which is great news. No lost work time accidents as well. And then just a little update, I just asked the public to be mindful. We've got some new areas that are under construction now, the slip ramp and 3rd, and so just be mindful of, there's a lot of activity going on there, so please stay out of those areas. And then on the project overall, we're on schedule, we're on budget. The temporary bridge and button hook were opened up by the interim completion date, so that's a good thing. We got those open by April 2nd, that was the goal. The next big milestone on the project is actually to open up 3rd between Plum and Potter and the back side of Red Wing Shoes from Bluff by October of this year. So that's our next contract milestone. 3rd between Plum and Potter, reopen that, and then the back side of Red Wing Shoes off of Bluff, get that open again by October.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about, I've had quite a few questions come in at the 3rd and Plum intersection with the, now we have a 3-legged intersection, and it's basically a single lane of approach from each leg. Of course, the leg that's closed is the area of 3rd east of Plum Street. But it is full movement intersection, so people, northbound on 58, come up to that stop sign. You can turn left onto 3rd and go toward Bush Street. I know there was some confusion and quite a few people asking, and even the police department. But I wanted to get that out there that is the 3 legs that are left open are full movement, so you can turn each direction there. So want to talk about that a little bit, and then I think Terry. We talked a little bit before, I don't know if Terry's going to touch on this, but at Potter Street right now, we do have some leftover turn arrow tape that's at Main Street that's kind of forcing people to turn right on Potter as you're heading toward the button hook. That tape needs to be pulled. You are able to be in both lanes, the left and right lane approaching the button hook are open going between Plum and Potter there and toward the button hook. So there are some things that we need to straighten up there, some tape left over from a previous operation actually when we had a lane closure. There will be a need to close that lane again in the future, but then we'll do that with barrels and proper signage when we close the outside lane to finish some of the bridge removal of the old bridge. So those are some of the questions that I've been getting since the big switch over, and I know Terry will have some other things to talk about as well. So with that, Terry, do you have some things you want to jump into?
Yeah, thanks, Jay. I got some infographics. So this is the button hook that we've opened up, obviously, last Friday, which we're, again, pleased and happy to get that open. The slip ramp being closed. People are getting accustomed to it, it seems like. And then let's look at the intersection of Plum and 3rd. So that's a 3-way stop that we've implemented there. And like Jay said, if you're coming into downtown from Goodhue, let's say, and you want to take a left onto 3rd, you can do that.
Yeah.
You have single lanes of approach because it's a 3-way stop condition, and that fairly well mimics what will be the final configuration in terms of movements there. So that's in place, and that seems to be working well. That signal system is gone, by the way. It looks a lot different today if you drive through there. And then let's talk about downtown area. So if you're downtown in that area of Plum and 3rd and you want to get to Wisconsin, obviously you got to go over to Main, take a right, and go out to the new signal system and follow the button hook. So again, it seems like people are getting used to that. We see some people using Potter, which is closed today for pavement removal, but we see a number of people that have figured out, hey, they'd rather go down Potter and go around the corner and go around the horn. So that, that's option for people as well once we have that open. And mentioning Potter, again, we've got that closed today for pavement removal. We have signs up for that, so people are finding their way around pretty well in terms of that. There'll be periodic closures of Potter. We'll open it back up after the pavement removal today, and then we'll come back and close it for some utility work and underground work, but we'll do our best to get the word out when those closures of Potter will be coming.
And that's just the cross of Potter at
Just
Third, and Terry is, has said in the past, we've got it in the contract that the contractor needs to work to keep that open as much as possible. We do need to close it, of course, to get sewer and water across the intersection, but it'll be open back up with gravel at different times. So, it won't be closed like the whole construction season, like Third Street between Plum and Potter will be. We want that cross street open to keep flows getting back to Main and back to Fourth and so forth there.
We really tried to keep it open at all times, but there's some deep utilities in there. We just can't do that. Lastly, coming up next week, April 10th through the 12th, is a detour of Highway 61 again for the remainder of the bridge, the overpass bridge of 61. So we removed a piece or a portion of that bridge last December, and this is the graphic from that. But we're going to have 3 nights next week scheduled right now, April 10th, 11th, and 12th, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So again, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., closing Highway 61. The detour is Goodhue County 21, Flower Valley Road, and 58. It's a little over 12 miles. The difference this time, though, is we have traffic coming across on the Button Hook. So anybody in Wisconsin destined for downtown Red Wing will have to use the detour or find an alternate route because they can't get under that bridge. And conversely, anybody in downtown Red Wing that wants to go to Wisconsin, they'll have to find their way around to use the Button Hook. So that'll be a little bit different in terms of traffic impacts, and that's why we switched from, we did it before 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's why we switched to 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. because of those traffic impacts. Yeah,
we wanted to minimize those impacts for that evening, people coming in to shop in Red Wing or anything like that. So we're pushing the contractor off to 10 p.m. To place that detour.
And Jay and his team will go around and do some door-to-door kind of flyers and stuff ahead of time to get the word out on that. But again, April 10th, 11th, and 12th, closing the Highway 61 overpass bridge 3 nights in a row, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Right now, that's our plan, weather permitting. Okay, Jay, anything else traffic-wise?
Yeah, and we'll canvass the neighborhood again with that nighttime construction and let people know. So I think we're delivering those on Monday morning. We'll be doing door hangers out in that whole area. So, and we hit a big area. We're going to do that and get it to the businesses that are kind of on 3rd Street there as well. So there will be nighttime construction again.
Okay, let's jump into some videos then. It's been a while, so. This is a self-consolidating concrete from our technique shaft. So it's just a real flowable concrete that we actually turn the slump cone upside down because it's so flowable, but that was a perfect mix for our technique shaft. We needed flowable because of the underwater conditions. This is our technique shaft. Sandstone, our dump truck, over 250 yards that went into the technique shaft. Again, that flowable, self-consolidating concrete mix, and they're all pumping it into the shaft. That technique shaft is all tested and accepted and ready to go in terms of permanent shaft construction now.
And the technique shaft is with the foundation for the main piers, correct, Terry?
Correct, yep. And it's a trial shaft that mainly just to get the contractor means and methods down so that we can start our permanent shafts out on Pier 2 shortly. So just a view from I'll call it the Archer Daniels Midland or the ADM side looking across. Nice wintertime little video to show you. Little similar view. This one's down below by the railroad tracks, looking at the barge flotilla. That barge flotilla has now been moved over to Pier 2. It's in its location for drilling the shafts. So you can see those 2 openings. That's where those 4 permanent drilled shafts will go out on Pier 2. When the contractor's done out at Pier 2, they'll move over to Pier 1 and do the 2 shafts there. That gives you kind of a sequencing for that foundations work.
So the Minnesota Pier 1 will be the last pier that's constructed for the bridge, correct, Terry?
Correct.
Yep.
Correct, yep. So another little higher view of the barge flotilla and those openings where the shafts will go out on Pier 2. You can look down into the coffer dam here for Pier 1 that's in place, the sheeting. This is a video of excavation for the south abutment. So that's the ADM tank farm retaining wall in the background. contractor's excavating for the south abutment. That's our contaminated material specialist. On the right there, who is monitoring that for debris and rubble and contamination. We've actually found quite a bit of debris there. We've actually poured the footing for the south abutment.
And that abutment, from the plans, Terry, that abutment's directly on bedrock, correct?
Yeah, that's a spread footing. No piling, no drilled shafts. It's a spread footing down on bedrock. Yep, absolutely. There's our environmental expert. He's going, checking things out, sniffing things for fumes of contamination. Whatever he finds, if it rises to the level of contaminants, then we have to treat it specially and haul it to a specialized landfill. So that's what Tom is doing there, checking out the excavation for, I call it sniffing the excavation for contamination. He does a great job for us. Just another view, look in the other direction of that same area. Pretty well cleaned up here. Ready to go in terms of placing the forms and the rebar. And we've poured that footing, like I said, so it's curing out and ready for the next step, which will be the abutment wall.
Nice to be built on solid rock, huh?
Yeah, nice to be on solid rock. So this is a view over Wisconsin side of the campground area. See the tanks, the cranes. Much activity during this video, but it gives you a feel for how much real estate the contractor's using there. And, we've got to thank the campground for being a good partner with us, Bob and Margie. Driving some sheeting here, so they have their barge flotilla in place, driving sheeting so that they can gain access out to the barge flotilla and get their equipment out there. So this was kind of the next step after they got the barge flotilla moved over. And another view, this is actually on the barge flotilla, looking into Wisconsin, if you will. So that's a pretty good overview of the river bridge work. You see the piers coming out. We've poured pier cap 6, pier cap 5 will be coming pretty soon. We've got a couple left after that. So if we switch to the temporary bridge, you see the piece that's been removed. This is the excavation for the abutment on the temporary bridge on the, I'll call it the north side. And a little overview of that area, same general area. See the columns coming out. They use actually, I'll call them mini drilled shafts with shaft columns on the temporary bridge. So you can see the rebar in the background, and they poured the columns on this side. Here they're actually building the abutment with a mechanically stabilized earth wall, so it's a fill system with straps that go back. They put sand in, put straps in, put sand in, so that this is the abutment construction for the temporary bridge. Similar view of the abutment MSE wall, or it's mechanically stabilized earth wall construction that they're doing. Again, you see the form columns there for pouring the columns in the center pier there. This would be the MSE wall construction on the north side, the opposite side then.
Toll Barn Bluff right there.
Yeah, Toll Barn Bluff. It'll be a little hard to see with the sun in this one, but more view of the temporary bridge construction. It was a fairly major operation all by itself to build that temporary bridge. And just another view from kind of 61 area, looking at the piers before we set the beams and put the wood deck on and put the bituminous on.
So now traffic's going across that temp bridge.
Traffic's running right across, and this is Mud Lake. We put sheeting in. We were going to take a run at putting some sections of the new culvert in, but we had to be out of there by April 1, and it got pretty tight, so we've opened the channel, and we're out of that area till June because of migratory fish spawning and migratory fish. The DNR asked us to keep that channel open. So not much activity over there. We did patch a settlement or a bump, or dip that we had going on over there. So that's it kind of on the bridge side. And let's go back to, got some special ones to show you. Now this one has to be rotated, but it's the Red Wing Emergency Responders. They did a trial of a rescue operation out there, a safety operation. So they have a dummy in the water, and they have their crew. Sorry about it being tilted, but they have their crew.
They're not working on a waterfall right now.
But they're taking a dummy out of the river as kind of, again, just an exercise to make sure we've thought through and worked through if an event like that happened. Here's our two friends, the Bald Eagles, over on the Wisconsin side. And I thought since they were sitting outside the nest and I could see them fairly well, I'd get a little video of them. And they're very active in that nest as we speak. This is another view of the button hook in the temporary bridge area. This was the day it was opened up, so it gives you an idea of kind of what's going on and all the operations to get that opened up. We've got people moving signs and moving equipment and monitoring traffic. And when you do a switch like that, the first thing you got to do is put up the big overhead signs. So we did that, and we had some people that would come out and they thought it was open. It wasn't quite open yet, so we kind of apologized for inconvenience. But we got a process we have to go through on a traffic switch like this. So, get the overhead signs and then get the ground-mounted signs, and then eventually take the barricades out of the way and let traffic go. And this is the first truck, official truck. Some people snuck through earlier, but I was up watching, and this is the first guy that went through after the barricades were moved. I don't know who that is, but that's the official first truck going across the button hook. So we opened this direction first. I've got things taken care of in terms of the connecting traffic, and then switch the other direction. So that's a pretty quick overview of the videos. You guys some final comments or thoughts?
Well, just that I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to mention that nighttime construction. I know there's noise at night when we're doing that nighttime work, that removal work, and we have a resident that's right in that area that's in the audience here, and just want to make sure that you know about it, and your neighbors know about it as well. It's an inconvenience for sure, but it does help with the traffic to be able to do detours in the evening with the amount of traffic we now have, especially with the button hook in service and all the Wisconsin traffic as well. So I didn't have anything else that I can think of. Terry, do you have anything to add that as far as the traffic switch, or that you've noticed, or
no? Just we
highlight?
We appreciate the community and their patience. We felt that was a fairly significant change from a traffic flow perspective. So we, as a team, we tried to do our best with graphic and outreach and getting the word out. So, again, some people it was a little inconvenient because they went out there and had to go back into town because we were in the process of making the switch. But
yeah,
all in all, it seems like things have gone pretty well and people are getting accustomed to it. So
yeah.
Again, we appreciate the working with us and the accommodating our schedule and stuff.
And now we're going to jump into, the removals were happening on that stretch of 3rd and the slip ramp right by Red Wing Shoe. And Friday we meet with the underground contractor with our utilities guys to coordinate getting those pipes in and get that project rolling here to get all the new sanitary and water main and storm sewer in place and the lighting system that needs to go on that stretch of roadway. So we're excited. Another good construction season, probably even a little bit heavier on the city side as far as what the city utilities are being done this year. So
a couple of things: we need the frost to come out of the ground to help us a little bit, so that there's still frost in the ground, and that could slow us down a little bit in terms of our grading work. And then we need the river to cooperate. We don't want that river to come up and crest too high because that'll affect our barge operation out there. So just a couple of things we're kind of hoping for some good news on the frost and the river to cooperate with us. So looking forward.
And Terry, has the one thing we talked a lot about last year was the large surcharge over on the Wisconsin side. Is that being monitored? Are we seeing settlements that are occurring with the surcharge material?
Yeah, the surcharge on the Wisconsin side, there are some settlements that have occurred there. We're waiting for the frost to come out of the ground, and then we'll get back into putting our final lifts on that.
Okay.
And that'll start our 1-year settlement period. So we're not up to final grade yet for our fill, the approach fill on the Wisconsin side. Again, we need the frost to come out. Once that happens, we'll get the final lifts on there, and then we'll have a 1-year settlement period before we can do any more work on that.
Okay. All right, that's what I had. How about any questions from anyone in the audience that have come today? And we'll repeat them. We don't have our wireless mic working right now, but we'll repeat your questions, because that's one comment I did have from those that are watching, that they want to make sure that they know what the questions are. So, Nancy.
Yeah, Jay, can you explain what you're doing along Bluff Street there, where they torn the road up and everything? What's going on there?
Sure. I think we both can. The question was what's going along Bluff Street where they've torn the road up. I know there's work with the button hook. The retaining walls being built to actually hold the final portion of the button hook in place. Right now, we say the button hook's open. Well, we only built a portion of the button hook just to get that temp bridge connected into it. The button hook needs to have a bigger sweep, and it's encroaching on Bluff Street. So that means there needs to be a retaining wall so Bluff Street can still be an active city road when we're all done. So that's that wall you saw in one of the videos. But also they're doing the removals because we have utilities to do on Bluff Street. Sewer and water utilities, we've got hydrants to put in, services to the buildings that are there, and then tie that water main into the water main that goes behind Red Wing Shoe and so forth. So starting with getting the pavements out, and then we'll be doing utility work there and 3rd Street at kind of the same time this summer.
And then Nancy, I was just out there, they're starting to actually take part of the bridge and the retaining walls down, because those utilities go through where the slip ramp bridges and retaining walls are. They extend into the Red Wing Shoes parking lot, and they're fairly deep, so they're trying to make a corridor of Bluff right now for that utility work. They'll take a couple of weeks of utility work at least once we get going in there.
And if you've, the end of Bluff Street will then have a bridge underneath the slip ramp to feed the back parking lot of Red Wing Shoe. So there's another bridge to put in. That'll be a permanent bridge when that gets built. But that's, so Bluff Street will kind of have a turnaround or a cul-de-sac on the end of it, and then a bridge and a driveway into Red Wing Shoe. So, any other questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I came late. You may have covered this earlier. But how would you characterize your general progress? Are you pretty much on schedule? Are there things that are worrisome to you?
Sure. Grab that, Terry.
Yeah, the question was how would we categorize the project schedule overall? Are we on schedule, behind schedule? And to answer that question, we are on schedule, and actually we're on budget as well. Schedule-wise, number one, our first milestone was to open the button hook by April 2nd, and we opened it last Friday. So that was a few days ahead of schedule. Our second milestone is to open 3rd between Plum and Potter and the backside of Red Wing Shoes, Bluff Street, by October of this year. So that's why we're tearing into that pretty quick. And then another milestone then is to open the new bridge, the New River Bridge, by the end of September next year. And then overall completion is August of 2020. Bottom line, we're on schedule. We're doing well schedule-wise, but again, the frost in the ground, we need that to cooperate with us, coming out of the gate here this spring. And then we need the river to cooperate. If the river comes up high, we get a lot of spring rains and it stays high, that could have some negative effects on the bridge construction. So great question though.
Yeah, and Terry, did some of the, I know it didn't push the schedule off, but it did slow things down with some of the cold weather over the winter here that we've had, those weeks where it was tough to work for sure, for the guys pouring concrete and trying to do stuff that you can normally do through the winter.
Yeah, I would say we had a good winter for work, but Jay's right. We had 2 weeks around the Christmas, New Year's holiday season. That was really tough for us. Equipment didn't like it. The workers didn't like it. So basically, we didn't get much done over the holidays, which is fine. Our schedule will accommodate some downtimes like that. But overall, I would say it was a pretty good winter for us in terms of getting stuff done.
And that temp bridge actually came together pretty quick, didn't it? I mean, that was quite a project to get that put in place and be ready for the button hook opening. So, yeah.
In the grand scheme, we set up the 3rd Street and slip wrap construction for one construction season to minimize the impact of businesses. So that's why that April 2nd contract date was there, to get the button hook open. because that'll, obviously that allowed us to get into the slip ramp in 3rd Street, which the contractor hasn't wasted any time
Yeah.
tearing that up and getting in there and doing some work there.
Yep. Yeah, and overall, we've gotten emails. I got another one this morning with traffic, traffic tweaks and issues and knowing where to go and things. And I'm getting a hold of Terry, and we're addressing them almost immediately. We have some parking stalls we wanted to open back up near the Barrel House for limited parking and get some signs moved here and there. And MnDOT's been very accommodating and addressing those right away and getting their crews out to make changes. And feel free to get a hold of me, email me, call Terry. You see something, Nancy mentioned a stop sign might have been taken down and forgotten to put back up, down in your neighborhood. We'll look at that as well. So,
One of the things I'd like to advise drivers is if you're on Highway 61 or Main and you're headed out towards the Button Hook area, the signal system, I used to see a lot of drivers, they would go underneath that Highway 61 bridge and then they'd speed up. They'd start doing
yeah.
55. Well, right now, the speed limit is 30 until you get all the way past the signal system. A few hundred feet past that, there's a 55-mile-an-hour sign. But people shouldn't be accelerating underneath the Temp Bridge or that, that area, because it's just, they could get a ticket that way. We put up a sign before the Temp Bridge, signal ahead. So as you're coming on Main, before you hit that curve and going to the Temp Bridge, there's an orange sign with signal ahead on it, just to try and help people understand that it's...
Yeah, we did have some things come in Facebook, and a couple calls about you come under that bridge and you're not expecting to be on top of a signal. We're all creatures of habit and used to be able. That's when you were heading out of town. Is when you got under the 63 bridge, you're laying on the gas and getting out of town. Now there's a signal there, and it comes up on you pretty quick. So we wanted to get that advance warning in there, and then just encourage people, this is a change. This is the new 30-mile-an-hour zone goes out to that signal. So. And
that's the way it'll be basically for the whole job. That doesn't change.
Yeah, that doesn't change. That's the permanent situation. It's going to be that way from here on out. So, and one thing that will be. It won't be quite as of a site restriction, because once the Temp Bridge gets pulled out and the new bridge is actually in place, it'll be wider and better sight lines to that signal. So there are some constrictions just with this phase of construction that make it a little bit tighter area, but that will open up and be better sight lines with the final project. Patty.
That's good. Just wanted to comment, we only had 5 calls in our office of people that were just bewildered that day that the switch happened, and 3 walk-ins, so I consider that a success. I mean, considering how many people that impacted, and I'm sure we'll still have some, as they come together the first time after that whole traffic switch. So we thought that went really well. And we really appreciate all your work and all the info, and we're just trying to really get that message out there. So we thought that went really well.
Good.
So thank you for that. Also, thank you so much for doing that nighttime detour as late as possible. I know that concerns people. There's a lot of commuters that are, going back and forth on that. So moving that to that 10 p.m. is really helpful.
Okay.
That 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So that's also good news.
All right, I'll just let the audience know that Patty's said there was minimal walk-in and phone calls to the chamber about the traffic switch, so that's a good thing. I think the communication got out there. Like we said, we know we had tweaks and we have to do things. We had that during the Main Street project.
Right.
You do it and all of a sudden, we forgot about that, or that sign should have been down this way. But you learn those things, and we want to hear about it, so that's good. The other thing, Patty was thankful that we did move that the detour start to 10 p.m. rather than 6 p.m. with this phase of the project, trying to keep the impacts to the traveling public to a minimum. So, yeah.
The contractor really wanted 12 hours. They really wanted 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., but we just said we can't do it. It's too impactful to the community, and we're gonna have to make 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. work for 3 nights, and they did. So we got to thank the Xenotech for that.
Yeah, the contractor's been really accommodating as well. We're working well together on this project, so, and that helps keep it on budget and on schedule when you've got that kind of relationship. So, any other questions? All right. One question.
So the temporary bridge gets removed, right? Once everything's open, and so that's like September 2020, or how does this work?
Yeah, the question was the temporary bridge gets removed. It does, that's correct. The kind of the sequencing to get there, number one, next year, September, we'll open the new bridge, and then we'll reopen the slip ramp at the same time. So that'll be an exit coming in to Red Wing, the slip ramp, like an exit ramp. The button hook will still be open. At that point in time, we don't need the temporary bridge anymore, because that new bridge we're building can accommodate the button hook and the slip ramp.
Yeah, you'll basically feed the button hook now with the new bridge and then move the traffic over there and then take the temp bridge out. But at that point, the slip ramp will be open as well.
Yeah.
So we'll actually have traffic coming in into town like you're normally used to there.
So for now, roughly say October-ish of next year is when that temporary bridge would be taken apart and removed.
Yep.
And we got some questions from people, why are you spending more than questions, why are you wasting all the taxpayers' money on a temporary bridge? Quite honestly, the option is not to have traffic coming across the river, and we think that would be really, really impactful to the community.
That was a big, through the preliminary design, when we were looking at how to keep the river bridge open, that's what we kind of honed in on. I think I was part of a study group that, City of Red Wing had we need to keep that open, not only for people coming here to work, but people coming here to shop and get back to their homes in Wisconsin and so forth. So it was a big thing for the city to push MnDOT and the Wisconsin DOT that's a big part of the project that needs to happen, that we don't have a detour of the river crossing. So we're 30 miles up or downstream to get into Red Wing. And with that, there's a cost. There's no question there's a cost, and that's what that temp bridge cost is. And it actually it frees up a lot of work as far as the utility work and working on 3rd Street. So there's other things that have definitely benefited construction-wise, along with keeping the river crossing open.
We're just thankful that the existing bridge was wide enough where we could take a piece of it out and we could squeeze in between the blocks.
Yeah.
We're just thankful we were able to squeeze it in that corridor.
Yeah,
So.
Yep. For sure a tight area, but it worked, and keep traffic going in and out of Red Wing. So, all right, we'll see you next month. Same time, same place. Thank you.